Hi, my name is Amy. Thank you very much for watching, and let's make some bad financial decisions together. This is for entertainment purposes only, so if you're entertained, please like and subscribe. I would really appreciate that. So today I'd like to talk to you about investing in high-income ETFs and using those distributions to pay for your bills and your living needs, and then reinvesting that to make it sustainable versus just selling a growth stock. Because I mentioned it yesterday, and I also got a comment from someone that says they support me, but if you're withdrawing 5K per month and you're reinvesting in Misty, your total return is still going to be worse than if you just had invested in MSTR and you're selling MSTR. And any backtester can prove that. And I am not really aware of any backtesters that allow you to make a set withdrawal and then reinvest the rest. Either you're reinvesting or you're not reinvesting, which is one of the reasons why I am making YieldCalc, because maybe I just am not using testful.io correctly, but I don't see anything here for backtesting that allows me to set I need to take $5,000 out every single month. It's just not a feature that this has. Not that this backtester isn't good, it's just that it makes assumptions of either you're reinvesting 100% or you're reinvesting 0. So there is a medium between investing 100% and investing nothing. So I've been manually doing this Misty versus Mr. the growth thing for quite a while now. And so how this works is, my premise is I need $3,500 per month. And that's actually pretty close after I pay off my trailer and all my debt and everything. It will be closer to $3,500 per month than $6,000. So we're just going to go with that. So for this, we started on February 22nd, 2024, and the principal amount was $42,600 for MSTY, and that got me 2,000 shares of MSTY. And then to get the same amount for the same amount that MSTR was worth, that's 589 shares that I was able to get in this backtesting scenario that I've manually run. So every month we go through and we say, well, the amount of shares that I have multiplied by the price per share is worth this much, and then we had this dividend and we took out the $3,500, and so this is the amount of shares that we're allowed to reinvest, or this is the share price, and then this is what we were able to reinvest. So if you just keep going down the line, you'll see consistently that we still have MSTR is worth more than Misty. And my biggest problem with just selling MSTR without doing any kind of cover call strategy is this assumes that MSTR, the growth of it is going to outpace my needs when I'm just selling the shares. So, and in the end, by August, you still have $100,000 worth of MSTR, and you only have $60,000 worth of Misty. And this line is if you had taken the $3,500 out and then just split the difference with the distributions, and you put half of that in MST and half of that into MSTR. And so your total returns will be better for now if you had done that than if you had just reinvested 100% into Misty. But if we take this and we say MSTY is going to be worth $15 and distribute $1 of distributions, And then MSTR is just the same price as it was. Well, I guess it's this price here. So we can change it to just be this, and we'll just say this is equal to this here, and then we'll just change that because, fair is fair. So if we just assume that this is not going to move any and that this isn't going to move any, this is a future thing, eventually, when you look at this, we might have to go out a year, but eventually, insert column to the right, insert column to the right. Okay. Okay. What is this doing? I just want to do this to the last one. Okay. So eventually, in a little more than a year, you'll have more with Misty. And you can finagle these future numbers as much as you want, but to me, this just indicates that eventually, sometime in the future, if MSTR stalls or goes down for an extended length of time, if I have more Misty shares and I have enough Misty shares to just pay my expenses without cannibalizing Misty, eventually, someday, it might take a year, it might take 2 years, it might never happen, but my assumption is that, if I started out with 589 shares and then I have less than 200 shares, eventually, someday, it won't be enough to cover the difference between the growth and what I need for income. And I think here we can have, so this is a Misty versus SPY. And so we start out with the 2,000 shares of Misty, then we have 84 shares of SPY. And so we have well, SPY is not really going over it because it's worth so what it did here was Misty was worth $21 here, and then it was worth like $40. So basically, right away, it's not worth more. But if you keep on going here, it only took until June of this year for you to have a negative SPY return. And so it was definitely better to be in Misty than it was to be in SPY and just selling SPY, at least. So take that, this is, if you do the back testing, exactly what happened, but we can all cherry pick what underlyings and timeframes that we're using. But I'm still going to stand by what I said, where if I need income, I'm going to use high income ETFs, and then whatever's left over, I would really love to put a portion into growth stocks. That way, overall, I won't have as good of a, I think I may have been wrong with how I said that yesterday, where the best total return is when you reinvest the dividend into the underlying. The best total return, if you don't have to worry about income is with the just buying the underlying. But if you do need the income, and what you do with the distributions, if you're focusing more on whatever is in excess, doing that into the growth stocks, and then if you need more money, then just sell the growth stock and buy the income ETF. I just, for me, feel better having more shares and accumulating more shares and making that sustainable versus relying on a growth stock continuing to have momentum. So maybe Misty and SPY are not, or like SPY is not the fair comparison. Maybe it needs to be SPY versus SPY. But if I'm literally invested in Misty, I need to know what it does in comparison to both MSTR and the S&P 500. So I think that by being in a high income ETF, you are better off than just selling your SPY shares. But the debate's out, I guess, if you own a high growth stock. Anyways, and the reason for that is that when you have a high income ETF on something that does go through phases of, it made 100% returns. If you get capped too much, then your total return is going to be kind of abysmal with the high income ETF. But anyways, I also wanted to point out that Brad had a video a while ago called The Surprising Truth, SPY Share Sales versus YieldMight Monthly Income. And he does this with several of these just to point out that even if you do have NAV erosion, you're still getting income from the shares. And if you have enough income, you don't have to sell the shares. And so your portfolio itself is still sustainable, even if all of the time your total return with the NAV doesn't look that pretty. So today in Financial Philharmonics, we have Don't Be Brave, and this is about hedging. I actually really like this thumbnail, and it's a metal song. And then Thank You, Jetta, Omega Werewolf X, Abdullah, In My Opinion, BGP Automotive, and Patriot Spalding for supporting me. I really do appreciate it. You're really helping me with making this YouTube and YieldMight and everything transition more sustainable for myself. So I really appreciate that. So I guess my question for you today is, do you drip back into your high income ETF? Are you taking a portion out for bills? And do you invest a portion into the underlying? And I'll talk to you later.